No, Paul McCartney, Macca, Faul. He has a new album coming out next month, February 7th or 8th, something like that, called Kisses on the Bottom. Now, a lot of Paul McCartney's albums are anagrams. He's got one that's an anagram for son of the magician, which is very interesting considering you have some people believe that Paul McCartney's like the son of Aleister Crowley or something like that. And, of course, they had Aleister Crowley twice, not once, but twice on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. And it's interesting on the cover of Sgt. Pepper as well. There's, it's a funeral scene going on there. With Paul's back faced away. They have the flowers there on the front that are, say, Paul in flowers, and it's like a base. Well, on the cover of his new album, he's like making off with like a funeral bouquet. He's like running away with funeral flowers. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I started working. I started looking to see if anybody had done any anagram work on, his current album's coming out, because I figured, well, a lot of his albums have anagrams, so I started looking into it. Well, Kisses on the Bottom alone, that title, and his story is that it comes from a line from an old song or some shit. Mac has always got some story about, oh, well, mate, it came from, we were all sitting around in Liverpool listening to the old standards. We came up with the name. We said, give us a name, love. They gave us Kisses on the Bottom. That's all it meant. He's always got some bullshit story, but immediately to me, and I'm sure a lot of you, what came into my mind was, where the origin of the term "kiss my ass" comes from the Templars, from when they would, do these various black magic rituals where they would, summon demons through severed heads and all this crazy shit. But what they would do at the end of these rituals, and one of the standard phrases, magical phrases that's used in magic and in all kinds of magic, Wiccan, Freemasons use it. But when you close out a magical incantation, a lot of times what you say is, of course, so mote it be, right? So mote it be. Well, kissing the Grand Master on the anus in Templar rituals is how they would end their rituals. They would do their conjuring, and they would do their spells, and at the end of it, they would all line up in a row. The Grand Master would bend over and expose his bare buttocks and spread his cheek so his pink starfish would stick out. And all these guys would line up and kiss him right on his anus, because it was part of the magical ritual, the black magic stuff that they were into. That's why I think a lot of this pedophilia and all this homosexuality that goes on in the highest levels today stems from. But so I started working. I started looking around to see if anybody had done any of this anagram work for Kisses on the Bottom, and didn't find anything that anybody had found yet. So I started working on it myself. And lo and fucking behold, one of the things that you find when you start doing anagram work on Kisses on the Bottom, you find that the phrase "so mote it be" exists as a letter combination in the phrase "kisses on the bottom." Now, I haven't figured out the rest of it. And yes, there are a whole bunch of different things the anagram could be. But to me, that was pretty fucking startling, man. I mean, I'm sure that there'll be 100 people after me that'll claim they found that and discovered that. But I've looked online, I've looked around, I haven't seen anybody else that has discovered that piece of info yet, but I'm sure it'll happen. And, 6 months from now, I'll go, yeah, I was the first guy that talked about that. And everybody will be like, no, you didn't. You weren't. You weren't. Oh, you didn't come up with that. You're lying. Blah, blah, blah. That's what always happens to me. It's happened to me a million times. Not that I care, but it has happened to me a lot. But that's just too big. That cannot be a coincidence. I don't care what the fuck Macca wants. Oh, love, we were listening to some records, man. Yeah, man, we were listening to records, and we were from Liverpool, man, and it was getting groovy, and all of a sudden, someone says, give us a title, man. We went for Kisses on the Bottom. I know John would have really liked that title. It would have been a title that John would have really liked, yeah. And it just happens to be So Mote It Be. A combination there. Come on. So Kiss, kissing some Templar ass and just, oh, it's just coincidence that so mote it be happens to be one of the word combinations you come up with there. Yeah, coincidence. Oh, absolutely. Nothing connected there. If you've never seen the documentary, The Winged Beetle on YouTube, definitely going to watch that. And you'll get a better idea of the stuff that I'm talking about. Because there's definitely some stuff going on. I'll tell you an interesting thing. I meant to put this in the movie, but I just didn't have time to put it in there. What was Paul's Faul? I call him Faul, as in fake Paul. What was Faul's last wife's name? Not Linda, the one that died, but the one that had half a leg, old peg leg. What was that bitch's name? Took him totally to the cleaners. Well, the reason she took him totally to the cleaners is because she's got the dirt. Oh yeah, baby. And I meant to put this in the Cigarette Volume 2. To me, it just kind of felt like I was, like it didn't really have it's interesting, but it kind of didn't have a place in the film. It kind of, especially relating to the other pieces of information. But I'll tell the information here. Maybe it'll make it in some subsequent film later on. But I can't. I'm just drawing a blank on what her name is now. She's McCartney's ex-wife, blonde. Well, she used to be a hooker, a high-priced call girl. And guess who her number one client was when she was a high dollar, $10,000 a night whore? You'll never guess. Adnan Khashoggi. Yes, our good buddy Adnan Khashoggi. Heather Mills. Thank you, Anon. Heather Mills was Adnan Khashoggi's number one bitch. He loved that pussy like he loves gold. Loved that pussy. I mean, he was shoveling out $10,000 a night every night of the week for like years for that ass. And according to Adnan Khashoggi's ex-secretary, Heather Mills didn't want to sell him the pussy anymore. One day, she decided she wanted to go legit. Go find her a easy mark like Macca. And so Adnan Khashoggi was absolutely furious about this. And he pulled on some old school, you know what they do, like they do in Saudi Arabia and stuff. If you get caught stealing or you're practicing witchcraft, which is basically reading a book about anything it doesn't have to do with Islam. They actually have a fucking executioner, this guy that's passed down generationally that actually beheads people in public with a big fucking sword. Well, that's what Adnan Khashoggi did. He took a sword and he cut that bitch's fucking leg off and said, all right, you want out? You want out? You don't want to be my bitch anymore? Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. Whack! Took your leg, bitch. How about that? All right, you're out. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I don't want to fuck you now with one leg. Get the fuck out of my office. And she told everybody that she got in a motorbike accident with a boyfriend at the time and lost her leg. Not according to Adnan Khashoggi's former secretary. He whacked that bitch's leg off with a fucking sword, dude. Straight the fuck up. And the next thing you know, there again, there's Adnan Khashoggi hobnobbing with all these these musicians and people like that, which I talk about in the film a little bit, but unbelievable stuff. Well, anyway, the point is Heather Mills, supposedly the reason that she got divorced from Paul McCartney had nothing, and she says this in interviews, it had nothing to do with infidelity, had nothing to do with marriage problems. They got along great. What happened was, apparently, is she caught that motherfucker. She found out that he's not really Paul McCartney, and that he was this guy who basically became Paul McCartney after the real Paul McCartney was killed. And supposedly she has a big bunch of this information, and if anything is to ever happen to her, there's several news people who these packages are already in a safety deposit box ready to go out to all the major media outlets. If anything ever shady or anything happens to her and she dies, it's going to go out all over to the media. And she said that it was bombshell stuff. and nothing about infidelity or anything like that, but stuff that would shake every person on the planet to the core. And that's what she was talking about. She found out that he was who he said he was, and she said, "Okay, well, what I want is a divorce, and by the way, I want half of your shit." She got like, I don't know how much did she get off him? 500 million or something. I mean, it was something ridiculous, dude. It was totally over the top. But yeah, that's hush money, man. Keep him on Faul. Keep his mouth shut about Faul and his, not really being him. Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, Khashoggi cut that bitch's leg off, dude. Straight up, cold blooded.